Welcome to the Revolution Dentistry Podcast.
Welcome you guys to another very special episode of the Revolution Dentistry Podcast. We have with us an incredibly special guest today with us, Angus McLean. He is the partner and the chief growth officer of Progressive Dental and the Closing Institute. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
All right, really awesome. So today we're actually at the Closing Institute event here in Dallas.
And the energy's good. People are having fun. They're learning everything they can in that room. So we're having a blast.
Okay, and the energy has been extremely electrifying, you guys. We've had a great time so far. So what we wanted to do was bring Angus on here really quick to educate everybody a little bit about what it is that the Closing Institute and Progressive Dental is doing to revolutionize the industry. Okay, I know that there are so many components that go into a dentist being successful at acquiring leads, the marketing for All on X, and closing these leads to be able to do the treatment and build and grow their practices. So can you really quick tell us about the different components? You mentioned them earlier, about 4 of them, that the Closing Institute is doing to help dentists find success in this industry.
Sure. No, great question. And probably the easiest and simplest way to frame and share with you our philosophy and strategy is we've really built the company around this 4-dimension growth playbook or growth strategy. 4 pillars, if you will. You know, everything starts when we meet a customer, a client, and we're looking to build a relationship, get to know the goals and objectives of that practice, and then we map out a plan to help them execute and achieve against those goals. It all starts with obviously that overarching strategy, right? Understanding the practice, the key differentiators, how we're going to go out into their market, create a compelling story that's going to compete and win. And we also develop the workflow. So strategy and workflow. Now, most of the clinicians out there are probably thinking workflow, they think surgical, restorative. When I'm talking about workflow, I'm talking about their team and our team working together to achieve a collective and agreed upon objective. Once we have an overarching strategy, once we have that workflow defined, that's the business fundamentals, right? Now we get into the creative. Now it's about branding, it's about messaging, it's about marketing assets, videos, web, landing pages, everything that's gonna support that story when we go out and share that with our community. Strategy, content, and branding. Now we need to have intentional marketing. Marketing for a very specific profile of patient that is looking and seeking out these specific types of treatments and making sure that we're getting in front of and creating awareness within those patient base in different channels. So we have the strategy, we have the content and branding, we have the intentional, focused, specialized marketing, and we complete that full solution with the team-based sales case acceptance training. So that's where, you know, I don't care if you're investing $5,000 a month or $50,000 a month, you want to ensure that your team is, you know, performing at the highest level and creating the wow experience for those patients that's going to lead to greater case acceptance. Because again, whether you're spending $5,000 or $50,000, we want to ensure that we're extracting maximum ROI from any level of investment that you might be making. So really, when you address each of those 4 pillars.
And can you recap the 4 real quick?
Sure. We've got strategy and workflow. Content and branding. Intent-based marketing. And team-based sales training.
What do you think that people are missing a lot of the time from those 4? What do you think is overlooked the most that's just really debilitating people's success?
I would say it's the quality of content. Practices, you know, invest millions of dollars and a lot of time and resources on creating these beautiful environments at the practice. They hire great teams. They invest their heart and soul and their vision in the practice. Long before a patient is ever going to step foot in the practice and get the chance to meet that great team, see the beautiful environment and safe environment that you've created for me, meet the incredible providers that are there to change their lives with the treatments that they offer, the first introduction that they're going to have to your practice is that content. It is that video. It's that emotional video that I may come across and interact with, and it takes me to your website or a landing page. All of that is what I'm going to form my first opinion of your practice and decide if it's somewhere that I feel fits me as a patient and my personal brand. So I think people underestimate the importance of putting best-in-class content out there into the world, stuff that they're truly proud of and represents their practice. And then it would be the team-based sales training.
Okay.
You know, I hear a lot, oh, I've got a great team. They're brilliant. They close like machines.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you know, if you ever get to a place where you think you've gotten so good that you don't need to continue to sharpen those tools, hone your talk tracks, stay informed on what's working and what's resonating with patients today, that's when you start to see your competitors sneak up on you.
Okay.
You know, we like to say, I tell my team all the time, you know, when a professional athlete finally gets drafted and makes that professional team,
they go harder.
do you think the training stops or does it actually increase 10x?
Oh yeah.
So, you know, if to simplify, I would say the content,
okay,
and then the team, you know, the team development, the team training is probably most overlooked.
What I would really say I love about what you guys do is you dive so deep into the marketing strategy for these practices so that they can go above and beyond in facilitating that emotional experience for the patient well before they step into the practice. Like you said, like their journey, a lot of dentists don't understand that their journey begins well before that first step into their practice.
100%.
And in facilitating, you guys helping practices begin this patient journey the right way with something extremely powerful and unique that sets them aside, sets them apart from the competition in their market. You know, I just don't know, there isn't another company out there like you guys are doing that is pretty much doing everything for these practices from beginning to end.
Yep.
You know, I feel like these marketing companies are, you know, just giving leads or just, you know, not giving this full encompassing 4-step approach.
This end-to-end solution,
yeah,
right? And everything that we do is so intentional in the sense that every new thing that we bring to our clients is born out of the challenges that we see practices being faced with, and we're trying to come up with solutions to those. TCI was born out of stepping back and looking at, you know, two practices with, let's say, all things similar. Great teams, great providers, beautiful location, you know, investing similar amounts of money, generating the similar amount of leads. Why is one practice performing well above expectation while another continues to fall short of what we had hoped to achieve? The resounding, common denominator was one team was performing at a level that was much higher than the other. Okay. We said, man, we've got to go beyond just creating beautiful content and pushing that content to the right patients and filling their schedule and making the phone ring off the hook. We've got to teach these team members how to triage leads, how to, you know, influence decision making, overcome objections so that they can facilitate more treatments for the leads that we're generating. So again, TCI was born out of, we see a need within a large, you know, our client base. They look to us to provide solutions to some of these gaps, some of these challenges. So everything that we've done is born out of, you know, what we see is needed at the practice level. Everything that we do is about helping the practice grow and get to the next level.
Absolutely. And TCI and Progressive, they have been so successful with lead generation. What do you think is something that TCI and Progressive does differently that a lot of failing lead campaigns don't do, and that's why they fail?
I don't know if it's necessarily failing lead campaigns. I think it's probably just the fact that, you know, Bart, our CEO, likes to say, we've made every mistake that you can make. And we've learned and we've failed, or if we're gonna fail, we fail fast and we fail forward, right? And so it's about trying and piloting and being progressive, right? Pun intended. You know, but it's also through that, you stumble and you learn. Luckily, we have a brilliant and very lucky to have great clients around us that will allow us to try and innovate and, you know, pilot different ideas. And some of them work famously, and others we say, okay, you know, add that to the list of things that didn't work. So I think it's really about experience. You know, I think, you know, it's very, very, I can confidently say that no other marketing company, ad agency has been catering exclusively to the full arch community for as long as we have. So it just means that every person on our team, we have over 100 people that sit in Clearwater that are all focused on helping these practices grow. And every single one of them wakes up every morning living and breathing arches. No other ad agency can say that.
You need to have it that way.
Yeah.
So you've provided with us the incredible steps that you guys are taking to help dentists be successful from A to Z in this full arch industry. Is there anything that you haven't mentioned that we haven't touched on yet that you would recommend that a dentist do in order to find success?
I think probably the one additional thing that I would highlight, and back kind of your question a little bit, or a slight pivot on that, is when I talk to clients and I ask about prior experiences, right? Because I'm wanting to learn as well, what has worked, what hasn't worked in your opinion, so that I can learn from that and maybe we can solve some of those.
I love it.
I hear that from a lot of clients that, transparency in the metrics and KPIs, which are the leading indicators of future success, is a common issue.
Okay.
We are fanatical about data.
Yeah.
We have, the account managers that are assigned to the accounts have monthly business reviews with our clients. We've built these incredible KPI dashboards so we can see which campaigns are performing at what level, not just at a lead creation, lead generation, but of those leads, how many are scheduling consults? Of those that are scheduling, how many are showing? Of those that are showing, how many are converting, right?
Yep.
And you have to analyze the data so that you can extract valuable insights.
Okay.
And with insights, we optimize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so we have built, we've been really, I would say the last kind of 12 to 24 months, been a lot of our time and energy and resources has been invested in building new tools to give easy access to the data, the analytics, the KPIs, the leading indicators that are going to determine tomorrow's performance. And so being very transparent and having those clear tools to leverage, I think is critical. And I think it's a big gap with a lot of other, whether it's companies or whatever. It's a necessary component. If you're going to do this, do it well, do it at scale, and be successful.
What I love is that you guys are constantly evolving and noticing the gaps that exist, and you guys are plugging those gaps. So from the sounds of it, KPIs have been an issue, and you guys are finding. Have you guys already created these systems, or are they under development right now, or are they always just getting better?
They're always getting better, but we've been doing more like app-based stuff.
Okay.
We created a whole new app not long ago that goes far beyond just managing and creating visibility around the marketing KPIs. But we're now digging in. We've built profitability calculators for these clients so that when we look to scale a practice, we don't want to just create top-line revenue. We want to drive bottom line profitability,
Absolutely.
and EBITDA, right? And so we go through an extensive exercise of, listen, we're going to go from 5 to 10 arches. Let's make damn sure that we're profitable on those arches.
Absolutely.
And we start drilling into the line items associated with these treatments. We built an entire app for that. A lot of the practices that we work with, too often we see practices that manage their business through the rearview mirror.
Yep.
Oh crap, last month was not great.
Yeah.
Guys, we got to do better this month. Well, unfortunately, we can do nothing about yesterday's performance, but if addressed properly today, we can affect change in performance of tomorrow.
Right.
And so we want to be forward looking.
Yep.
Right? Yes, there's value in looking back and learning from the past, but most importantly, I want to focus on the future because I can still affect change of tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And so we've created this entire forecasting tool, which is a new concept for a lot of these practices.
I haven't really heard of something like that.
So we're teaching you how do you block your schedule? How do we identify in real time, if we break down the patient acquisition process into, let's say, 5 to 6 critical components, can we identify which components are possibly underperforming over the last 2 days that could affect tomorrow's ultimate performance?
Okay.
And can we dig in, identify, and then be able to address in real time so that actually we can affect tomorrow's consults and conversions versus just always looking at yesterday's overall performance and then trying to change things from there. So those are just an example of, we've invested millions over the last 8 months in a project that Bart has talked about from the main stage, creating this end-to-end solution now from a software component, linking the marketing, to the CRM, to automated touch points with the client, and then providing reporting and real-time support to the client. There is nothing that exists. We know, we went out and tried to buy this technology. We were underwhelmed with what we found.
Yep.
And we said, well, I guess we got to roll up our sleeves, and like most things, we got to build it.
Hey.
So that's what we're doing.
That's incredible. I've never even heard of something as comprehensive as that. You guys are not only helping with the leads, right? But you're also helping not only with the marketing, but you're coming into the practices and making sure that the CRM, that the KPIs are all in place, that the clinical workflow is in place. You guys are training how to close these leads as well. It's insane.
We go so far as to a lot of these practices, in the world of, like, I've come from a world of managing and leading large sales organizations. There has to be a clear connection between the individual, their primary function and responsibility, and the incentive that's tied to them doing that job well.
Right.
A lot of times these practices are set up where they have a global incentive, but there's no direct connection between my contribution to that overarching goal and that incentive. It's it gets a little bit fuzzy.
Okay.
If a patient advocate's job is to receive incoming calls from leads and schedule consults that actually show, the 70% of my incentive should be tied to the number of consults show.
Right.
It shouldn't be 100% tied to the number of conversions or patients that say yes.
Okay. Yes.
Because my primary function in the entire process is getting the consults to show.
Right.
So we actually go so far as to help them build incentive programs tied back to the practice objectives.
Right.
I mean, as you can see, this is much more when you start talking about this, the marketing becomes the easy part.
I know. I'm like, what?
The marketing really does become, and I've told this to how many clients today, that yes, we are brilliant and we've learned a lot and we have a ton of experience deploying the marketing. But in reality, it's the business solutions, it's the practice growth initiatives, it's the strategy development, it's the reporting, it's the metrics. What are we learning from that? How are we constantly updating and refreshing the branding and the messaging? How are we making sure that their team is working with our team to consistently achieve a common objective?
Right. And that's how you retain clients. It's how you retain all these practices, because they're no longer able to just say, oh, it doesn't work because of X, Y, or Z. They don't have that excuse anymore, right? And so you guys are eliminating all the bottlenecks, right? And
also just giving them visibility into, and we'll be the first to agree, hey, there is something that's not working. But because of the way we've laid it out, then collectively we can pinpoint what's not working. Collectively we can try to address that.
Right.
And then for the greater good of the system now working as it should.
Right.
The first step to things that start to fall apart is when people start pointing fingers. Well, you're not creating good leads. Well, you're not doing a good job with the number one, common denominator in all failing partnerships, whether you're working with us or any other company, is as soon as it becomes a him or her, or and the teams have stopped working collaboratively, understanding that all of our goals and objectives are in clear alignment. That's when things start to break down.
Absolutely.
We've got to approach every situation, and no strategic initiative that can yield hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue a month should be thought of as going to be easy.
Right.
There's going to be challenges. We're going to have to learn. We're going to have to try. We're going to have to fail, and we're going to have to continue to win more often than we lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you always have to approach every situation from a team approach.
Have to. Wow, this has been incredibly insightful, Angus. Carter, would you mind signing us off?
Absolutely. This has been an incredible conversation, Angus. We really appreciate you coming on
Pleasure.
to the Revolution Dentistry podcast.
All right, and if anyone wants to reach out or find out more about anything,
Oh yeah, if anyone wants to learn more about Progressive or get in reach about your marketing programs and stuff, where could they find you at?
The best place to go, you can look at progressivedental.com. You can go to TCI or theclosinginstitute.com. There's a ton of information on there. That will get you in direct contact with our offices, and then that will immediately be put in touch with one of my team members that would be happy to set up a complimentary consultation, learn about the practice, learn about the growth objectives, and see where we can add value. Ultimately, that's what we're here to do, is kind of meet practices where they are, understand where they're trying to achieve, where they feel some of the stop gaps have been, and fill some of those holes.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for tuning into the Revolution Dentistry podcast. If you're finding value here, please hit subscribe. We're here every week to help you grow, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. That was incredible.
Appreciate it.